Hello, Jim. Hello, Steve.
Hi,
Gail,
Jim. Hi, Jim.
Steve,
Jim.
hope you're all doing well on this beautiful early fall day.
Oh my gosh, so gorgeous out there.
Yeah. Gail, are you residing on the eastern side of Lake Wyola now, or?
I am. Yeah.
Mhm.
I moved back about a week ago. So
Oh, okay.
my summer of travel has come to an end.
Well, I hope it was a good summer.
It really was. It really was. Lots and lots of good adventures. So um yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a great summer.
Good.
Wow, fantastic.
Good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Where where did you go, or what new and exciting places were you?
Let's see. I went I was in San Francisco.
Oh,
Hmm.
And I was in Boston a lot. I
Mhm.
was in Minnesota, New Hampshire, Vermont. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and then some random just like shorter trips out to the Berkshires and other
Mhm.
places. So it was good.
Great. You did get around.
I did.
You've had work meetings in San Francisco in the past.
I have good memory. Yeah, not
Good.
won't be happening in the future. In COVID, are all the San Francisco offices for the company I work for closed.
Hmm.
They went fully remote, so they still have an on-site office on this coast in Boston, but yeah, the San Franciscos are gone. So
I finally got COVID. This is
oh, welcome Graham,
abundance
welcome Craig.
abundance of caution here. Actually, I'm isolating in my house. This is for Helen Ann.
Oh
But,
no.
ah,
So
Uh,
you got it, and Helen Ann doesn't have it yet.
yeah, yet or maybe not at all. She was away for most of the weekend, and we had a visitor who on Monday night tested positive, and he then communicated to me that that he had it, and then I tested, and sure enough, I had it too. So,
wow,
ah,
that's a hey Helen, stay healthy, stay healthy.
she's working on it.
Oh, wow, that's a well, I was gonna say that's a quick transference, but it's not really because I forgot that it was Wednesday, not Tuesday, that a 2 day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's infectious. I get well. He was with us. He was with me for a couple of days, so it must have taken a little bit of work. But I felt terrible the first day, and hardly any symptoms except just feeling very exhausted. Not much of a headache, not much of anything, but a lot of exhaustion, and
Hmm.
and now I feel pretty good. 11 hours in bed last night,
Are you
and
taking anything for it?
I had to for the slight headache. I had to take a cup of tea. Yeah, it was enough. So yeah, and symptoms weren't too bad. I couldn't think of anything to take for exhaustion.
Okay. I'll
Yeah,
take
right. I
nothing.
couldn't think of anything to take for exhaustion except sleep. So
Yeah.
I was able to take that. And but I shouldn't make a joke about it because I may still, even though I feel like I'm totally getting better, I might still, hubris might give me long COVID just for my whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna lock the germs into the room right now.
Okay. Well, I think I think it matters kind of when you have it, how well you can take care of yourself and just rest to prevent some of those, longer term symptoms. So that's great that you're just resting.
Yeah, that's the theory I'm working on. And in fact, I'll only stay for 20 minutes just to just so that I don't overextend myself.
Heard. Okay. Well, is there we can move the agenda around to accommodate your 20 minutes if you would like. I know that Graham, you talked to me a little bit about the ACP stuff. Shall we move that to the beginning of the meeting?
Sure, and be happy to pass the minutes too if that's the last minutes if you want.
Great.
But
Okay,
yeah.
let's let me do my little spiel. We'll approve
yeah,
the minutes,
yeah.
and then we'll talk about ACP, and then you can go if you feel tired before then, just say the word. So welcome everyone to the September 20th meeting of the MLP and the Broadband Committee. I'm Gail Hundress, MLP manager, facilitating the meeting. This meeting is fully remote. Participating remotely, we have MLP board members, Jim Hemingway, Graham Sefton, Steve Schmidt, and Broadband Committee member at large, Craig Martin. So welcome everyone. First order of business is to approve the previous meeting minutes from August 16th as submitted and amended by Jim Hemingway.
Well moved.
Motion, thank you. In a second.
Second,
Excellent. And Schmidt,
aye.
Sefton,
Aye.
and Hemingway.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay, so let's see. Graham, do you want to speak a little bit about the ACP and your involvement with it, and then we'll talk a little bit about what I've been doing with it.
Okay, very good. Because I am a village neighbor volunteer, and because technology seemed, or stuff that doesn't work in houses seemed to be a good fit for me, as opposed to I'm not all that good a driver. So anyhow, that's what I've been doing, and I realized that it occurred to me that some people two people in particular, they didn't have internet because they just had a landline or a shelf landline, because they were saving $30 or so. No, $15. They were saving $15 and not having the both package. And it occurred to me that ACP, what is that? American Connectivity Program.
Affordable connectivity program.
Yeah, it would give them a $30 subsidy if they qualify, and qualifying means you have to be on Mass Health or food program, the food stamp, SNAP, and a few other things. If you have a kid on the school who qualifies for the free school lunches, and various things. So I looked up Mass Health, and I saw 20% of this, more than 20% of the state are on Mass Health, and so it was immediately obvious to me that whether or not these particular customers qualified, that a lot of people in town would qualify. So I mentioned that to village neighbors, and they said that they would be interested in getting someone who would specialize in that, or they would work out how to facilitate that. And then I talked to one of our IT consultants, digital equity consultants, and he was wildly enthusiastic, and he said, the school free school lunches is going to become universal, and we can do the whole school, anyone with the whole school, and you just and I said, well, that sounds great. Maybe when someone else has done that, or when someone wants to facilitate that'd be great. But I didn't want to be a bellwether for wading into bureaucracy so anyhow, that was my realization that we that we probably do have the ability, or that there are people in town who would facilitate that. The other thing the digital equity consultant said was that they've made it a simpler two-step process now, because I know from someone who did get ACP with us, Gail, that they said that you and she and others was back and forth, and it was really a tedious, or a rather no, it wasn't two-step, and I'm sure you can speak to that. But anyhow, our digital equity consultant said, well, that has gotten a lot better, I haven't heard any what do you say, evidence of that. I haven't heard of primary evidence of that yet. So yeah, so that was my leg into it, and kick the ball to you, Gail.
Great. Okay. So, yeah, in the more wider discussions on the state and federal level about digital equity, this affordable connectivity program is something that they've been pushing pretty hard. We've been participants since 2020. And at that time, I did a big push. We sent home notifications in all of the student communications at the elementary school at the time. I don't think they were sending out paper things, but electronic things. We got an article in there. I made a big announcement on the Shutesbury listserv. I put it on Nextdoor, and we sent out email notifications to all of our subscribers. So big push. And the result of that was 14 people enrolled in the Lifeline program at that time, and about as many in the ACP program. Now that number is up to 21 customers. So we have 14 total in Lifeline and 21 in ACP. So the benefit of this is, of course, a reduction in bills. Lifeline is just under $10. It's like $9.95 per month. And the ACP is, you know what, I actually don't know what it is now. Do you know what it is, Graham? Is it also $10?
$30, I was told. $30, and you can get 75. The FCC has $75 maximum, but the digital equity person told me, but there's only 2 places in Massachusetts that qualify you to get the $75, and they are both places that nobody lives. It's pretty funny. So
oh yeah, that is funny. But anyway,
you might have told us that one. So yeah.
So that with that, it makes our program, right, that comes in at $60 a month total, super affordable for anyone who needs it. So we know that there's a lot of households that qualify for one or both of these programs in Shutesbury that just aren't using it. And my guess, although this is just anecdotal, I have not done any research, it's not based on anything, but it's it's the time, it's a pain. It's a pain to submit the paperwork and apply for this. And yes, you look down the road and you're like, wow, I could save over $300 a month but the barrier to entry is the paperwork here. So one of the things that people are talking about in the digital equity realm is something called these digital guides. And that just means a person who will sit with other people and help them through the application process. So it's less daunting. You make an appointment. It can be done over phone. It can be done over Zoom, and helping them understand the submission. So if Village Neighbors, could get somebody who would just do that, and understand the program, that would be an awesome way to help our seniors. And if that person would also be willing to help other households, not seniors, or if we could get connected with somebody else to do that, I think it would be a great thing. So what I see this as kind of a marketing campaign. We have to get the word out that this is available, make it very clear who's eligible, and then give very clear action steps about how people are going to go about doing this, right? We do have a good write-up on our website, but still it's, you still have to do it. You still have to gather your paperwork. You still have to go through the qualifications. So having one of these digital guides, individuals to help, would be wonderful. I think that's the way I see it. That's kind of our next step, is to set up the people who can support this. So Graham, is there someone in the Village Neighbors Network who does this already?
No, but there are people who would be willing to do it. There's someone who's sort of someone who already has ACP, who is in Village Neighbors, is willing to be the consultant to get the volunteer who would do it up and running. So and as with anything, I think one should pilot on 3 people or something, 3 households. just to sort of see, okay, is this really, is this just a swamp, a bureaucratic swamp that we're looking at, or like I said, I have been assured that it is now simplified to a two-step process. You show somehow or other, you go online to the FCC, I guess it would be, and assert whatever proof qualifies you, and then the second step is that they give you a registration of some sort, which you can then just give it to your ISP. So and I know Kelly is quite comfortable with accepting that if that's available. So okay, well, I'll do a little more research, and I guess you will be talking maybe to your you've talked to Michael DiChiara about stuff like this before, so yeah, I'll yeah.
Great. Yeah. Since, I would love to, I think doing a little pilot of it is a great idea. So, yeah.
I had to find the raise hand there.
Oh, hi, Steve. How do you raise your hand?
So Graham, it sounds to me from the procedure that you're describing, the subscriber does not have to come to us as the Shutesbury MLP or broadband committee.
Heaven forbid.
Yeah, exactly. That they do this through the FCC, and then they submit to the
ISP.
Qualification comes through from the FCC. They submit that to Sheld, and it doesn't involve any of the five of us.
It's a wonderful hands-off process.
Which is great. Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Because I mean, that would to me be a reason that people might not participate, because they don't want to tell their neighbors that they're in financial need. It's a shaming thing.
Yeah, no, that's why I didn't want to.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't want to want us to be in that. And the other thing, or just one detail, that I was told that you can do Lifeline or you can do ACP. So you can't do both, is what I was told. Now I don't know whether that's absolutely true.
Okay, that's not my understanding of it.
Well, you could check that. You could test that with the 21 and 14, see if they're mutually exclusive.
Yeah, the thing that might be true about that, though, is that you can only do both if you have a bundle, because originally Lifeline was designed only for phone service. So my guess is that you have to have the bundle to get the Lifeline.
A bundled package. We're not talking a bundle of money.
Right. You can't have a bundle.
You mustn't have a bundle, Steve.
Yep. Yeah.
Gail.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that there were currently 14 people in Lifeline and 21 in ACP. Is the 21 a total of both, or is just ACP folks in alone? 21
is ACP alone.
Okay.
And 14 is Lifeline alone. However, there's lots of overlap between those two groups. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
My guess is everybody who's gone through the trouble of applying to ACP is likely also done the Lifeline. Way back in 2020, when this whole program started, in fact, you could, if you applied for Lifeline, you automatically got into ACP. So the barrier to entry was quite low if you were already on Lifeline. Just you almost got it automatically. You had to just like send in a little thing to the ISP. So
and our subscription level now is at 670. Is that like
it's hovering around 670 depending on seasonals. So
assuming 21 is probably pretty close to the total, look like 3%. It's not very.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm very interested in this universal free lunch that's upcoming here. If that is actually automatically going to qualify all of everybody. Right now it does. If you qualify for free lunch, you automatically qualify for these programs. But if all of the sudden free lunch becomes universal, I wonder if that's not going to be the case anymore. But anyway, that's something for me to figure out. I'm sure Michael probably knows more about that.
One other thing I'm thinking here is, I mean, I think it's great that they just go to the FCC and fill this form out and don't have to deal with somebody in town. But I assume you have to do this online, and there could be a catch-22 if you don't have internet connection because you can't afford it, and therefore you can't fill out the form without it.
The
Yeah,
digital guide would be very helpful, wouldn't it? That role, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you go to the library, or, well, sometimes you can go to the library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll need to be mindful of that when we send out the communications about if somebody wants this, that yes, a digital guide could Zoom with you or, talk to you on the phone, but that is useless if you don't have a computer and internet. So, this is a thing where I think the library folks could help us out of, just making either computers available during certain times, having appointments for that, or our digital guide can meet someone at the library to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about it more. We'll see if we can pilot a few people through such a thing, and then give beta test it.
I like it. Yeah. And, to gauge our success rate, Graham, this may be a question for Michael too, but I struggled when I was doing this last time of trying to figure out how many people are eligible in town because it's private information, right? And I think I can get a percentage of like school lunch eligibility, but on a wider town, it's hard to figure out of how many people.
That's why I just Googled what percentage of Massachusetts is on Mass Health, and that's Medicaid, and it was over 20%. Some spots said more than 25%, but it was something between 20 and 25%. So depends on your town and your so yeah, well above 20% probably here, given how many old people we have. Sorry.
So we don't know.
How,
so we don't know how many people could qualify for this in Shutesbury currently.
No, but there are people here who would know how to find a few who might be willing to. So.
Yeah. I think the village neighbors, our senior center can at least help us connect.
Yes.
But I'm thinking of just larger statistics of, we need to gauge like what's the delta between how many people need it and how many people are using it. We want to close that gap.
Yeah.
So.
I'll trust Steve's math. If he said 3%, then there's a gap.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, great. We'll get more details on this. And we'll talk about it more at the next meeting. And Graham, I don't want to wear you out. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, I will. I'll call it quits. I get too carried away when I'm I just go and lie down again. But anyhow, lovely to see you all you healthy people. And it looked funny before, Craig, when you turned around looking back into your field of green there.
Yes.
You could probably see something that we couldn't, but
yeah, it was Lynn Marie.
Oh yeah.
Yes, if I go back too far, I disappear.
All right. Well, have a good meeting, everyone, and I'll see you when I get well.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Graham. Bye.
Bye, Graham.
All right. Well, since Graham left. There's not much on the hut report. We are still waiting for Jamrock to do that final visit. To try to, I think last time I mentioned that they're going to replace the entire outer unit. And not charge us for anything except labor. We're getting that from the warranty from Jamrock. The other hot news is that we got that really nice new battery bank installed. They reached the end of their 3 or 4 year lifespan, so Shell took care of that for us.
So Gail, that HVAC unit still is not installed. So we've been running since, was this the January storm or the March storm?
It was March. At least it's March, not January, but still.
So we've been running since March on one unit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fortunate it wasn't a hot summer, although we just had that heat wave. And fortunate that nothing has happened to the one unit we've got.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, we're headed into the winter too now, so
Right.
it's overheating that's the problem. And we do, I was not overly concerned because the ventilation system as the third backup is there.
Yeah.
They'll start blowing fans if it gets above like 90 degrees in there. So yeah, just one of these things that is just taking a lot longer than it should.
Has Jamrod given any indication of why there's a delay in getting that unit?
Parts.
Mm.
Part supply chain, blah blah blah. The same,
Mm.
stuff we've been hearing about for a long time. So yeah.
Gail, Graham and I, I'm just typing something here. On the batteries, we thought that that the batteries were should have lasted longer, and I got into a technical discussion with Graham about how they were being charged and whether the charging rate was correct and whether any measurements had been made on this trickle charging rate. And I won't go into any of the details, but that's sort of a work in progress. And it's sort of a tech issue, I guess. Since we've lost a few power supplies apparently over the last couple of years, and which of course have been repaired or fixed, I'm concerned about whether the batteries are being trickle charged correctly, because those batteries should last actually 10 to 15 years and not, and I guess in our case,
Really?
3 to 4. Yeah. We're looking, or Graham and I are looking into this matter. I don't know whether Graham made any, I asked him to make some measurements on the battery's voltages to see what they were across all 4 cells and or all 4 enclosures, all 4 12-volt battery enclosures. But that's sort of a work in progress. It's sort of quietly brewing in the background, because those batteries are not inexpensive. They're pretty pricey and very high quality supposedly, but they should have lasted a lot longer than they did.
Okay, well, thank you for looking into that. I didn't know that we were well under our lifespan. I just kind of assumed that, yeah, our other UPS batteries, the UPS batteries you buy residentially, I have a really fancy one on my computer, but yeah, it's not going to last more than 5 years. So
yeah, well,
yeah.
Those are a much cheaper battery, like a lower quality battery, but these are very, I mean, I looked them up and looked at their specs and and what the promise was on how long they would last and the quality of the battery, and they should be lasting much longer than these did.
Okay.
But
I just did a little calculation. I come up with 4.5 years we've had them.
4.5. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was spring of 2019 when we were equipping and configuring the hut, and I remember got a call from Becky one day. Dave, we got all these batteries just showed up and they weigh all these pounds. What do we do with them? Well, put them in the hot, So, but I mean, our first customers came online in the summer of 2019, and so
Mhm.
now fall of 2023. So, it's 4.5 years. I had heard 5 years on these, but that was just a general term, not on these specific batteries, but that was just the ballpark idea I had for how long.
Yeah, well,
Just saying this-
I would say that was true for your normal battery that goes into AC, UPS supplies in people's
Yeah.
homes and things of that sort, or even motorcycle batteries. They all have about the same lifespan, but these are industrial strength batteries. They're very well made in terms of how they're sealed, and the separation of the plates in them and all the rest of it. If you read up on them, they go into a great deal of detail to assure you that these batteries will last a very long time, and much longer than we got out of ours. So I'm sure Graham and I are going to be monitoring this very carefully, and I'm just going to create a chart to monitor the voltages across each of the four, because they're wired in series. So there's actually they supply 48 volts to run the equipment, and if one of the cells and one of the batteries goes south, or opens up or does something, shorts out or something like that, that's going to really stress out the rest of the system, because they're charged in series and they are wired in series. Anyway, I'm getting too technical here, but
no, that's I understand and agree with that.
Yeah.
We had a lawnmower that ran on a very similar, 4 gel cells in series.
Yeah.
And if one of those batteries went bad, pretty soon all of them
would go bad, because anyway, sorry to bore you with all these technical details.
No,
but,
that's
Not at all,
great.
Graham.
It's great that you guys do that. It's something I
Jim,
wouldn't even think of.
well,
Yeah. All right, other news. So our maintenance and service report. So we had close to 60 tickets in July of just call-ins, which is pretty normal, around 50, somewhere between 50 and 65 is what we normally get. It slowed down in August to a trickle of 34 tickets. So people are on vacation, and but just a very slow support month in August. You may have noticed that all of our equipment has been transferred for the Leverett pole section, that for all those electrical poles that were replaced. That got done around. So
I noticed that the trucks that were doing it were Surtex trucks, incidentally.
Yep. So
Surtex is a contractor for Sheld.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's a depot there at Sheld's maintenance depot in South Hadley. So
yep. So that's done. We have not gotten the notification yet of next to go for all of the poles running down the Wendell Road stretch. But that will come soon, I assume. I have figured out the NGEN system, the National Joint Utility System.
Good.
Not the most user-friendly interface, as you can imagine, but eventually I had to watch a little training on it, but I got it. And so I know what buttons to click now when our work is done to move those poles along. Let's see, we are successfully registered in DigSafe, and I'm getting requests. So right now the process is that when I get a request, I have made just a big spreadsheet of all the addresses in town that have underground installations. And so I get the notifications. I just do a quick check on our list, see if that address has any underground. If they do, then I'll trigger Sheld to go out. So far we've only gotten 2 notifications, and no, none of them have underground yet. but Sheld is poised and ready to do that. We haven't done it yet, but in theory, we have a process for it. Interestingly, I got this big DigSafe notification for all of the electrical poles on Lakeview Road. So they're doing just what they did on Leverett Road on Lakeview is replacing all those poles.
Well, that's right, because it's going to continue the 3-phase all the way up to Wendell. So
yeah.
work around that side of the pond, the lake. Okay.
Yep. So that's happening. Yeah, so they are going to be replacing the pole that has our distribution box there.
Yeah.
So there's nothing for us to do now, but it's gonna be a significant move when that happens. But Sheld or Surtex will handle that.
Do you know if they've been doing any pole work on the other side of the culvert? In other words, towards Wendell, or whether all the activity has been on Locks Pond Road, which I think, because like right now they're sinking poles on my land along Locks Pond Road, so they're close, but it's still far away from completing anything. But I didn't know whether they were working across the street, so to speak, by the park where the box is located, the big box.
They are. That's the DigSafe notification I got, was for that all of Lakeview running all the way to Wendell. To that both ways, to the Wendell line and to the Leverett line.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not yet, but they're doing it in the next week, I assume, because the DigSafe came through.
Oh, really?
Running it to the that stretch to the Leverett line also. That's interesting because there's nowhere they can go with it, because when you get the Leverett line, that's an Eversource service. So curious if they would do that stretch, but
so we have DigSafe notification for the explain that. I'm not quite certain of what that meant.
Okay. So yeah, so whenever any contractor in town is doing any digging, they submit a DigSafe request with the state of Massachusetts. And now that we're part of the DigSafe notification system, I get that. And I get notifications when basically anyone's digging in the town of Shutesbury. And so I got notification for this whole stretch of road because they're digging. They're gonna, put in these new poles.
I see. Even though we don't have much in the way that of our stuff that's buried there.
We have nothing. We have nothing on this stretch, but it doesn't matter. We still get the notifications.
We still get it. Okay, I understand.
Yep.
Which is good, because we want to be the one that decides whether something needs to be done or not.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Eventually, I'm going to try to get myself out of this process of being the decider of looking at the list. And, I also do a second check, and I look at our AutoCAD drawings, our engineering drawings, just to make sure. It's not hard because all of the underground are in this nice orange line color. So, you just zoom in, you look at the whole stretch or the area, make sure nothing's there and clear it. But it's not something we want me or any manager to be a part of, because I go on vacation for a week and you have to fulfill these DigSafes in 72 hours. So it's something I want to make sure we hand off to our vendor completely for them to be copied in on all the notifications and have that part of our process, because they have people on 24/7. We do not.
And they're a electric utility as well as a internet ISP, so they'd be very familiar with this process.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I'm in the interim, I'm checking this until we get the process down and have some practice runs. I'm going to get it transferred over to their responsibility.
Oh, over to Sheld.
Over to Sheld, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so financially, we're in great shape. We had some MLP payments come in that we're kind of on a we're on a nice schedule now where they're coming in monthly. As you know, it took Shelled a little while to get their accounting and bookkeeping in order. But as of now, we have $78,676 in our accounts. So have a very steady income of about $29,600 per month. Again, depending on how many seasonal folks we have in any given month, but that's kind of our monthly income these days. And that is all I have on my list for this month. Do you guys have anything else?
No,
All right. Well, that was a very nice, quick meeting.
oh, we do have,
Nice.
the whole bylaws question, I guess we've decided we don't need them, yes, but
Yeah, so just to be clear, that my question to you guys about did we ever do bylaws or articles of incorporation? That was not actually coming from next door. It was coming from Falmouth, Massachusetts.
Oh,
From
really?
yeah, it was coming from an MLP there who's just getting started and asking, hey, we just formed our MLP. Can we see your articles of incorporation or your bylaws? And I said, we don't have any.
No.
And I just explained the process of, we voted in our members. We just follow chapter 164. I explained about, our financing. We did have some big discussions about that. Are we a separate MLP? Are we an enterprise fund? We went with enterprise fund, but I said, we didn't get into the bylaws and things. We just make a policy as we go. And when you're starting out, you really can't do all that because you don't know yet what your network's going to look like and who's going to operate it and what the best policies are. You just kind of have to start and then do it on the fly like we are. So anyway, the person thanked me for my advice, and I feel like we have a really good living document in our manual that records all of our ongoing policies and how things work, so that if anyone were to come and ask about, hey, well, you can't just make this up. Like, let me see documentation. We have that. And yes, it's not formal articles of incorporations, but we have something we can point to, share with anybody who asks, and we've followed these policies very consistently the whole time. It's not like, and we've done a really good job of being consistent with that, and thinking ahead of this policy applies to everyone. We're not making exceptions, and thinking through what that means. So I think we're fine from the documentation standpoint.
So this was town of Falmouth,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming they've created an MLP for internet. Because my sister-in-law lives there or has a house there, and so she has cable, one of the standard cable operators there. So apparently this is an overwiring that's being. So
there's a whole conglomerate on Cape, the whole kind of greater Cape area that's working there. From what I've seen from the rest of the state, they're one of the better organized groups. And I still can't tell if the towns are working together or they're just doing a loose information share. But Falmouth seems to be kind of leading the charge and is really anxious to get something built.
Good.
So
okay.
And our next meeting date looks like October 18.
That sounds right. Yep. 5 o'clock still working for everybody? Is it still a good time?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
All right then.
You know, motion to adjourn.
Jim, that's to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Good to
All
see
right.
you all.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, hope you get out and enjoy this wonderful September weather. It's
While
the
it
best, the
lasts.
best we have in New England
Yeah.
this month.
It's not, it didn't start off very well, but
No.
still it's much too damp out there in the woods, but I'm sure that will change, hopefully. I can't get out and cut firewood. I can't, or cordwood in the woods with it's too muddy.
Mm.
Yeah, and well, anyway, but things will change. They
Yep,
always do.
it'll dry out. It'll dry out. All right, everyone. Have a
Okay.
great month. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.